I want to ask, how do you think the harsh life that you've had to lead has really helped prepare you for what you're doing now on Bay Street? Why do you think it's helped make you successful at what you do?
I probably wouldn't be doing it if I didn't have that life. Life would just be a little bit too easy for me. People go, "Would you trade in what you went through?" And I wouldn't trade it in, because I probably wouldn't be here. Literally, I would be maybe a little bit more arrogant. Even though actually, I'm going to embarrass my wife a little bit. She turned me down 3 times, by the way, when I asked her out. 3 times, and she said I was too arrogant, but it was confidence. And I think it gave me that confidence to just do things and figure that I can overcome anything, and I can get to whatever that journey is that I want to get to. But I would say the single thing that I would say attributed to my success was that life that I had really in Jamaica. Because when I was in that tin shack, the only thing that was preventing me from being successful was poverty. Because there's class distinction. Oh, you're poor, you can't do this. But when I came to Canada, I didn't have that obstacle anymore, because education was free, essentially. I didn't have poverty hanging over my shoulder, my head, to say, you can't get there because you're poor. That's gone. That was the only obstacle preventing me from being successful in my own mind. Mm-hmm. But here's what I had when I was there. When my brothers would get in trouble and they go to the police station, the police officer was Black. The sergeant of the station was Black. When we went to school, the school teacher that I had, all of them were Black. Principal of the school was Black. Business people that we went to shop, they were Black people. My brothers would get into a little bit more trouble and they go to court. The judge was a Black man or woman. Lawyer was Black. All the people that we interacted with that we look up to were Black people. So to me, Blackness was never an obstacle to success growing up. Well, the problem was, when I came here, my siblings that were born here, they had a different experience than me. They had the teacher that put me in the ESL program. They had people along the way telling them that they can't be a certain thing or a certain way because of their Blackness. They didn't have Black teachers, Black judges, Black lawyers, Black police officers. The system was essentially giving them a restriction in terms of, this is how far you're going to get to in life. I didn't have that restriction. So when I was pushing that mail cart in the mailroom of the law firm, I never once thought that none of the lawyers that I want to be like were Black. I never thought that. I never thought that, I just go, I want to be like one of those guys. But my Blackness was never an obstacle until later on in life. Then it started to come out to say, wait a minute here, I didn't know that. And that naivety helped me along the way. Because when I didn't get that job to be a law clerk, I figured, okay, I didn't get it because all the women in all the law clerks in the department were women. So they just didn't want a guy. So let me apply someplace else. And I applied someplace else. But had I felt it was because of my Blackness, would I applied someplace else? They would all have the same policy. So I just go, I'm not going to apply anywhere else. I'm just not going to bother. So our practices prevents people from doing what they think they can do and going ahead because they don't see representation of themselves there. Mm-hmm. And so because I've saw all those people that I wanted to be like growing up, I just go, I'm just going to do it. So when I started Kingsdale, I didn't have a Black person to look to say, that's the person who started a firm on Bay Street and look how successful they are today. But guess what? When I went to apply for a loan to start a business, that's the first thing they said when they look at my business plan. There ain't nobody like you. You're not going to be successful. That's risk. I'm not going to loan you the money. So that's it. And, but speaking of representation, I think Lance is here. Lance, are you here? You said you were going to be here. Lancelot Day, he's there. So when after all the banks, all the institutions in this country turned me down for a loan to start my firm, Kingsdale, that gentleman there went into Commerce Court and he was the one Black man out of the sea of all these people, one Black man behind the desk. And I went to him and pitched my business plan to him. And he looked at the business plan and he goes, I like it. come back in a week. And I got $100,000 to start this journey. Let's say he wasn't there that day. I wouldn't have gone to anybody because they already turned me down. So when I talk about changes, representation matters. It matters that you see somebody that look like you, because they understand. Like all the people turn me down, look at my business plan, go, okay, you're going to go into the boardrooms of corporate Canada. That's where pale, male, and stale. Okay, and you're going to tell them how to deal with activism that doesn't really exist in Canada. And you're a 34-year-old Black man. How's that going to go? Now, the bank's job is to determine risk. That's a risky business model, isn't it? But guess what? Lance didn't see the risk. He saw the opportunity. He saw the business plan. And that's why if you have people that are diverse, making decisions at the very top end of companies are better. Our country's better. Because of his decision, we now have, collectively in my companies, over 1,000 people employed in this country. And others. 1,000. Paying mortgages, sending their kids to school. How is Canada not better off? Because of his decision. Because of his diverse lens that he brought to the table. People, when they're asking for diversity, they're not asking to do a favor to anyone. They're saying, we would like to be a part of the conversation.